Good morning, it's Give It a Swing Outdoors with Smith, and I'm giving it a swing today with story time. A bit of an historical story, this, and it's an historical day, the 6th of June. And the 6th of June today here in Denmark, 24, it's nice and quiet, and there's been a bit of rain, which is good for the garden, and everything's quiet. But in 1944, down in Normandy, things were certainly not quiet. And as you all know, Operation Overlord, or should I say what's commonly known as D-Day, was underway. And I thought I'd tell a little story today about 30 years ago, when it was the 50th anniversary. A lot of the veterans, there was loads of veterans alive still, they were only in the 70s. So you got hundreds of these stories, and it was the 50th anniversary, so it was a big thing. But also, because it was 50 years, we were also getting information from the German side, which is always good to get. So you see it from both points of view. And one story that stuck with me was a story of a young infantryman. I can't remember his name. Let's call him Klaus Opel, the German name. That's pretty irrelevant, but he told the story, and I saw it on television. I thought it was quite funny, a bit ironic, a bit sad, really. However, it is what it is. War is not good for anybody, especially civilians. They always seem to get the freaking worst of it. But anyway, I'm digressing a little. I'm not going to go into the philosophy at all. But what I am going to do is I'm going to tell you the story. But first of all, let's imagine the 6th of June 1944, the south of England. Can you imagine the logistical, well, it's impressive beyond description that they could mobilise all that military power onto boats and get it across the channel and land it on the other side. I mean, the south coast that morning must have just been, I just don't know how they did it. I mean, and it's analog. There's no computers, or everyone's just on the smartphones, all texting each other, and this is all telephones and Morse code and things like that. So for me anyway, I just think the logistics behind it is incredible. But let's go back to our young German soldier. He goes in the army. It says, if I remember rightly, he was in it right from the start. He was in the army when the Germans went into Poland. So he was in the Polish campaign. He then went over to the Balkans, down to Greece and around there. I think it had been Croatia and things. He ends up, though, like most German soldiers did, on the Eastern Front, fighting the Soviets. And there he is for a couple of years. And it's there he gets really badly wounded. And he recovers. However, it put a question mark over his frontline capabilities. But by that time in the war, the late war, there was the perfect place for him. So the Wehrmacht weren't going to put the man out to grass with all that experience. Bear in mind, he's been fighting now for a few years. And he did have medals, and he was, let's just say, it was a battle-hardened soldier with a lot of experience, and they weren't going to put that to waste. They weren't going to, no. So he was sent down to the Atlantic Wall, and of course, anybody that knows the Atlantic Wall went right down from France, right up the coast, round Denmark, where I am. In little Denmark, where I live, there's 3,000 bunkers. 3,000 German bunkers. Now that's a lot of concrete, and of course, up around Norway they built the wall as well. But it was that, and again, let's talk about logistics. That's an amazing feat of engineering. It's incredible what they did back then. But anyway, back to our young German soldier, who's not so young now. Now he's in his mid-20s apparently, if I remember it rightly, mid-late 20s, which is a bit older than the young conscripts that he had. So he ends up down on the Atlantic Wall, and his infantry, so he has this little machine gun nest, his bunker, and they man that. So he's got him and a few others, and they man these machine guns, and nothing's really happening. And as far as he said in his memoirs, he said he saw it as a reprieve. He thought, nothing's going to happen down here. Who the frick's going to come across there? It's, you know, they're right down in Normandy, so far down. He just thought, easy street. I'm going to sit this out down here. The war will end. I'll go back to Germany and carry on. But on the 6th of June, I'm afraid his little plan got turned upside down. He recalls that he got onto his bike real early in the morning. It was his turn to go up to the little farm where they collected eggs and butter and milk, and it was his turn. So he hopped on his bike and up he went the hill, and he's in the shop. And I remember him saying, he said, then he could feel the vibration, and then he could hear it, and it was this drone of engines. And when he came out the shop, he said the sky was just full of freaking bombers, Allied bombers. Now, it could have, I know from watching the history programs, they throw everything in. There was B-17s, there was Liberators, there was light Wellingtons, everything was just whoa, on these operations. So he's thinking, oh shit, Scheiße. And then he looks at the sea, and again I can remember him saying it, and he went, oh, apparently the sea, from as far as you can visibly, humanly see, is 15 square miles, I believe. But anyway, it was just ships. Black dots of ships everywhere. And he said, his little relaxing day, drinking coffee and or playing cards and, I don't know, going through machine gun drills with his comrades, turned to something a little bit different. So yeah, he ended up going back down to his position and doing what soldiers have to do, their orders and the duty, and no details of how the day went for him. But what we do know, of course, because he told the story, is that he got through that as well, and lived to tell the tale. But for some reason that sticks in my mind, because I can understand him. He's down there in France, right down in Normandy. There's no harbours to land in. The odds against anyone coming seemed very... He was quite right in his thinking. But yeah, God, I bet he thought, bloody hell, is there no freaking escape from this? So yeah, so that's my little story from D-Day. And respect to the veterans who are still alive, and respect to the boys that lost their lives there. It was a big day. Alright then. We'll call that the end of the story.